Morning, everyone. Hello, I'm Andrew Barker, as Amy's pointed out. I'm a library director at Lancaster University, and I'm genuinely delighted to be here speaking to you today and to have been invited by Technology from Sage. I always have said traditionally, kind of personally, I've got two companies I like working with. I won't name them. I've certainly seen one of them around yesterday. When I say I like working with companies, I like it when it feels that the people who you work with are very open and honest, and you can have a critical conversation. Look, you know, I'm a library director, I'm going to fall out with you occasionally, right? Certainly on things, you know, related to open research and journals, etc. But I like it when I've got a group of people that I think I can work with and be constructive to move the sector on. And I genuinely feel, through the relationships I've developed with Technology from Sage and their openness to listening, that the company I can work with. And as I say, this is about people, and we're a sector that works, I think, best when we work together. I was chair of UKSG for a long time, so clearly I believe that, but we will challenge each other, and that's right. So I wanted to start by saying that. I also wanted to start by saying something really clearly, right? I became a librarian, qualified librarian, but in '97, but I've been working in libraries since 1994, and I think now is the best time in my entire career to be a librarian and to work in libraries. And I said that to Amy, and she said, interesting, why? And hopefully by the time I finish, you'll hear why. But I truly believe that there are opportunities that allow us now to be creative and to use our skills, traditional skills, and new opportunities in ways that make a difference throughout our institutions. And I do hope that comes through my session today in a way that gives meaning to what the session says it is and gives you an idea of why I believe it. So first of all, the title, well, what the hell is the library for? Reimagining the library. It comes from Lyndon Baines Johnson, who took on the presidency in Parkland Hospital, the 22nd of November 1963, in quite a difficult circumstance. And I stress, I'm not saying that, hey, I quit myself for the President of the United States. I stress, but my thinking when I try and learn about leadership comes from politics. Frankly, I find management books too boring. I like a story. And you tend to find stories with books on politics or history. And I was reading a lot on leadership and reading a lot on Lyndon Johnson when I got this job. And when he took on the presidency, first thing he wanted to do in January '64, the year it was an election year, was move on with civil rights. As a president now, I'm not overstating his involvement in civil rights, but by any means, but it's kind of got stuck in Congress with Kennedy. And he wanted to move it on. He was told it's a presidential election year, you want to do hard things. And his line was, well, what the hell is the presidency for? And I took from that, as I was thinking about becoming a director for the first time, look, if you're going to take on a big role, and if you're going to work, I think, in a library, you should take a step back and think, what's it for? What am I trying to do? Why am I here? What change? What can I do? And as I say, I'm not equating myself there, but I think there's lessons we can all learn in our leadership roles that give us an idea of how we can think differently about what we do. And actually, the whole point of what the hell is the library for is going, well, if we can't do the hard things, well, what do we do? And if we can't get into areas that aren't traditionally us, why not? Because we've got skills that should be recognised, that make a difference. So that was my starting point. And so I became library director at Lancaster in 2019. This slide really takes through my thoughts in terms of that point. What's the library for? A sense that potentially, because of the internet, because of the way universities had changed, that libraries had retreated a little to simply being service providers. Now, I'd never, ever underplay the importance of services. I say we're not a service as a library, but we've got services. And you know what? They're the best ones across the university. I can guarantee you, everything survey-wise tells you that. But I think there's more to what libraries can be than simply a repository of books and students in the corner of the university. And I was kind of slightly worried we'd retreated into that. where actually, traditionally, and this might be my nostalgia for some never lost period, I think the university librarian played a much more central role in the intellectual part of the university. So I'd been thinking very deeply about that. I also saw new opportunities through things like open access and open research. I think actually open access became a little bit of a Trojan horse through into other things that have given us great opportunities. And our traditional skills and actually our proactiveness in our ability to be first when it came to technology has been clear for the last 25 years. We were trusted, you know, because we were reliable, we were trusted. And I think we've been able to build on that trust to develop much more as a partner and find funding opportunities, which we're certainly doing now through either that's through being partners in grant capture or getting money through QR funding. And then you've got to think about the future. What I would say, I know there's a lot of talk at the minute, possibly too much talk, about chat GPT and things, and is it scary? Is it something we can harness? I would argue with all of these things. Look, people told us the internet would kill libraries. I don't think that's happened, quite the contrary. So let's take advantage of the technologies that we have, and let's be first, as we always are, to do things with them. Right, so I'm going to run through very quickly my thoughts before I went to Lancaster about what leadership should be and what a library strategy should be, and a vision. Simply, you've got a university strategy. Always align yourself to the university strategy, if only because that's the only way you'll get any money. You know, there's the sector challenges. You've got to think about them. You've got to think about your own personal values and aspirations, because frankly, if you're not bringing yourself to the role and to what you're trying to do as a library, then, you know, that word authentic's used a lot. You have to do that if you're going to be authentic, and I worry that times that word's losing its authenticity in itself. But anyway, if you're going to be yourself, you have to bring yourself to it. And I read a lot about leadership, you know, but as I say, kind of political leadership. Great book on leadership by Doris Kearns Goodwin on 4 or 5 presidents through from Lincoln to Johnson. So then afterwards, when I got to Lancaster, I learned a really fast lesson. I'd taken it very much from my point of view, but what I hadn't thought about was Lancaster and Lancaster's culture. Every university is exactly the same and completely different. I've worked in 4: UEA, University of Liverpool, Liverpool John Moores, and Lancaster. You don't know a place till you've left it, and I can guarantee they're all exactly the same and completely different, and that's really important to remember. So Lancaster's culture, it was small, relatively, from a university point of view, 16,000 students on a very small campus space in Lancaster on the edges of the Lake District. It's very much community-based. It was built to be community-like. You walk the campus, you bump into the VC, the deputy VC. It's walkable and you see everybody. Because of that, very collaborative. It's independent. We're not a member of the Russell Group. We are independent, but we are part of the N8 of those 8 big research-intensive universities of, I say very proudly, the North. We're a regional anchor, so we're really important regionally. We've got Morecambe Bay, which is important. We've got Blackpool on the doorstep. We've got Great Swades of Lancashire. And the library as a building is right at the centre of the campus, so we're visible. Still a box in the corner, we were, but that where we are physically placed is at the heart. So I wanted to create a vision, and I want to get to what we've done with that vision, but I wanted to create a vision that was aligned to the university's strategic plan, that the university's values, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, are central, and that we co-curated the library vision. I could sit in the back room and write my library vision, but it would be my library vision that nobody would be interested in. You have to co-curate. To do good things and get people buying in, they have to be a part of that creation. Now that creation can be, you know, from people across the university in senior leadership roles, students, and it can be, and it should be, people from within the library having a voice to shape the workplace they're in. So that's what we try to do with creating a vision. So I will run through this very quickly because I am conscious of time, and you've got a lot of great sessions coming up. We ultimately landed on a vision with 5 themes: digital physical, connected connector, equality, diversity and inclusivity, innovative, sustainable, local, global. Now you can look at the website and see how we unpack that, and I'll talk a little bit about what it looks like as well. But what we got from one of the workshops is tying this up from library staff workshops, tying this up into a phrase. We connect, we innovate, we include, and that drives everything we do in terms of from our vision, which doesn't talk about teaching and research and engagement, because the university strategy does that and our activities do that. From this vision, we create a roadmap and then we have a plan. But the vision enabled us to think differently about what we did and some of the roles we play, and you should see that as we go through. But of course, I wanted to demonstrate, and I've presented, not this in total, but this slide I presented to council, the university's council, because of some of the things that we've been doing. And so I wanted to guarantee that, look, we contribute to the university strategy, both in terms of obvious things like the REF and the TfS, so the Research Excellence Framework and the Teaching Excellence Framework and the Knowledge Exchange Framework, but also through the way we shape research culture, and the library leads that shaping of research culture, and I'll tell you about that. Widening participation, we play a significant part in that as a doorway into the university for schools and for asylum seekers and other members of our community. And as I say, it's a doorway in for people who aren't traditional university members. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm slightly obsessed with records. And Lancaster used to have a great history for as a gig venue through the 70s into the mid-80s. And you'd sit down and hear from people, new members of staff, who'd say, oh, I used to come here. See, I saw Bob Marley. No, I've not heard many people say they saw Bob Marley, but he played, the Wailers played anyway. Paul McCartney, Queen, Joy Division, all these great people, the Jam. And people get excited, and you think, well, you can't replicate that. But how do you give a doorway into the university for people who might not traditionally see the university as being for them? So that continues to be a thought about how we use the library as a doorway through. So let's break down, we connect into some of the activities that we've actually done. So the idea of connecting came from me. I started at Lancaster saying, I want us to be a library that is connected. I'm not sure if I keep going off the mic, so apologies if I do. Ideally, I'd be walk up and down an aisle. I have that little, it's a family trait. But you know, when I started, I wanted us to be connected. That was a word I started with, and what I meant by that is connected within the library that we work together, connected with it to the university, so we work as part of the university, and connected to the sector, so we were more visible. Somebody that I work with, and I work with the best team of people. I work with a brilliant team of people. My leadership team is the best leadership team I've ever been involved with. I have great people. I'm very fortunate. And somebody pointed out to me, yeah, connected's great, but we can connect as well. So yeah, so it's that we're not just connected, but we act as connectors. So, in terms of that connection, we build strong communities by working effectively together in a supportive way is one of the university values. We will be thriving, dynamic and people-focused, so bringing communities together, so similar language. And looking for partnerships. So how we've looked for partnerships here is in relation to community engagement, teaching and research. So ways we've done that. We've invested in relationships across the sector. When I say invested, I mean time and to space and to some extent money. So we worked very closely with Lancaster Black History Group on a project that Slave Family Trees that they were working on. And that project involved ultimately to providing free external membership to everybody and creating something called a community card so anybody could come and join our library. We did that because we bought a small collection of print books, no licensings infringed, print book collection for the Lancaster Black History Group to use, where we began a community collection to try, reach out. That's the first community collection. We've also worked with Lancaster Sewing Cafe and brought makerspace activities and maker activities. In fact, there's one happening today in the library. So if people want to repair their old clothes and their jeans, come in and they get help and support doing that. And we've worked with silent groups in Lancashire and brought them into the library, and we're creating a collection, building it with them is our newest collection. So there's a great example of how, thinking differently about the space and what we do. I would argue freeing up and opening up our print collections is an important form of open access that we can do ourselves, and has seen significant impact and positivity from the local communities. In terms of, so I've had engagement in terms of teaching. We've created library ambassadors. We've got student mentors who work with students across the university. We've developed a great schools partnership. We've just won some money. We brought in cyber girls, so girls from schools across the area to work with computing and library staff around cyber activities. Widening participation, we've got some funding. There is money to be had if you look for pots. So we've got some money from widening participation to increase our schools engagement and to do some reciprocal mentoring projects. So this all includes, this is the connecting. And then in terms of research, we're working with digital humanities very closely. We're even looking how we might co-deliver on an MA program in digital humanities. We're a named partner. I have a governance role in a £5 million project called Open Book Futures, which builds on the work of COPAM, which is just finished, and we play a significant role in research culture. So we've just delivered a rights retention policy, which as part of the N8, we have some funding to look deeper at research culture and see how we can think about embedding DORA much more effectively within the university. Then in terms of the next, how we innovate, the values of the university is there is creating positive change by being ambitious. And we talk as part of our vision that through disruptive innovation we'll bring lasting change, both within the university and the library sector. This for me is really important. So what the hell's the library for? We'll be active in areas that are not traditionally seen as library business. We will push ourselves out there. So innovating in terms of content. We're working currently on a partnership with, other universities in our area as a starting point. Probably not fair to name them. Looking at approaches for open monographs. I've mentioned the Open Book Futures. We've just reshaped our content policy into a content and scholarship vision, making some money available very clearly to spend in an experimental way on scholarship activities. So we will be looking at using some of this money that we currently traditionally spend on traditional publishing to invest into scholarship opportunities. Then in terms of research, I've mentioned rights retention. We're working very closely with a partnership in Sunway in Malaysia to partner in terms of research intelligence to support both in Lancaster and in Sunway this interdisciplinary connections and the whole point about research culture. As I said, open access is a fantastic Trojan horse into developing our role, as I think we've developed over the last 5 years, in research culture, in changing research culture, making it more open, making it fairer and more equitable, and through activities like citizen science, opening it up beyond the university. Then we include. So as I say, our catchphrase is we connect, we innovate, and we include. This final one, so we respect each other by being open and fair, and promoting diversity is the value of the university, while our library vision speaks to representing all the diverse communities that make up our university and being inclusive, supportive and safe. So some examples how we've done this is rethinking some of our spaces. This is our leisure reading area. We've got an exhibition space that is open to anybody to get in touch to use. We've had great, during the pandemic, we were the first library to reopen after the pandemic properly in terms of space, and our cleaners made sure we could, and we did a project with the cleaners and with Lancaster Arts to have an art project which the cleaners, using the mops that they would use normally to clean, to create artwork which has now got on the wall to remember the work that they did. But it's a great example of thinking about the space as differently. We've developed this digital studio. We've just upgraded our postgraduate study space using funding from Research England. It's there. This is not money I bid for. We've got it through QR funding and from Research England. We've got other space developments. Our library assistants are working on an idea around a feel-good hub We've got a new family room, which we're fairly late to the show. I know a lot of other places are already doing that, but that's really important. So we're trying to create inclusivity. My favourite email ever that a library staff member received was around the series of exhibitions we have and displays we have for the various months, when somebody wrote saying, I came in and I saw the display and I felt seen. That was fantastic, and that's what we aim for, that doorway in, that this is for you, not for me, this is a space for you. So then, in terms of some of our collections, we've been working with, as a partner, with a variety of researchers to develop something in partnership with Cambridge and Manchester, which we brand as Lancaster Digital Collections. We've increased our primary source resources, our leisure reading, and we're working with departments, with groups like Lancaster Black History Group, and within the library itself, to decolonise and diversify our collections, part of which is the community collections. We're working in partnership as well. In terms of activities, we've had 2 library festivals in 2021 and 2022. Never fear if you've missed them, which clearly calendar-wise you have. They're on YouTube. And to give you an idea of the outreach that a library can bring to its university, the first festival had 67,000 views on YouTube. I don't know how, I have to be honest, but it has had over 67,000 views. And you can watch it still. And what we've tried to do with those festivals, bring researchers in, talking in the library about the activities that they're involved in, launching events that we're doing. We launched our Lancaster Digital Collections. And again, using the library as a visible way in to what's happening at the university. We've had lots of wellbeing focused events. We have, I mentioned each month, we have our EDI and recognition events, and we run a lot of exhibitions, seminars and conferences from within the library. But it's not a building where we host it simply. We say we have to be involved in the partnership. We don't just rent the room out. We have to be involved in partnership with our students and whoever else is involved in setting them up. And that's been a great example of partnership with our student union and other student groups. Right, so that's a quick run through what we've done, and I hope it gives you a sense of all the activities that we're doing, but more to the point, the library's for what we want it to be for, the library's for what the university wants to be doing. We can be on the front foot, we should be on the front foot about this. So, moving forward, my big line at the minute is the university needs to think of the campus as a library. We've got so many great spaces, we've got real innovation in terms of what's happening. And because our library is well loved, that's people are hearing that, and there's a lot of good stuff I think potentially happening through a new estate strategy. We have got a new post funded through Research England's Research Culture QR funds to review research culture and look at open monographs opportunities. In terms of sustainability, we've got a little workshop coming up looking at, what's the impact of print collections, of electronic collections, of partnerships with SAGE. How can we rethink and, try and lead the change by working in partnership and challenge companies around sustainability? I love the idea of the library building as a test tube, and I really want to encourage our ISS colleagues. So we're looking at kind of opportunities for VR, we're looking at opportunities for AI as well. The library space is a test tube. As I always say, you want a captured audience, they're in the library. Our numbers are high. Every discipline is in there, and it's always full. Because of the work we've been doing on the research front, we've been invited to play a much more involved role than we would traditionally in the transformation of the curriculum, which is an education-led project. We've got some interesting irons in the fire happening today around the potential of doing something around citizen science. I see citizen science as a great midway point between engagement and open research. In the middle of that, I think you've got the opportunities for citizens to play a much more involved role in research. Watch this space on that one, because I'm kind of hoping we might get some traction on that internally, aligning it with the potential of the Eden Morecambe project that's happening as well. So that's quite exciting. And again, an example of, 10 years ago it would have been, well, what's that got to do with you as a library? No one's asking that question anymore. And that word partnership is always truly important to us. We work in partnership. We're not simply here to provide services. We want to work in partnership with people, and that comes right to the front. This is the point where it's a bit grandstanding, this next slide, so I'm sorry. But I'm always kind of asked, oh yeah, you're doing all of that stuff, but what about your core business? Aren't you missing your core business? Now, we're lean. As a university of our size, I am not saying if you're in a really small, non-research intensive, that we haven't got many staff or much money. But if you look at us as a kind of mid-ranking non-Russell group, we're really lean in terms of staffing. So it's not as if I've got loads and loads of staff either. But we have, this slide was also used for council last month, so I have brought this one out again just to make the point. Last year, through our open research work, we were invited to join Research Libraries UK. We were not members, we are now. We did win the Times High Award for Outstanding Library Team of the Year, which led to an early day motion. This photograph is the library team and I, along with our local MP, who presented an early day motion in Parliament because of the work we've been doing with the community. We won a Kate Award for Teaching Excellence for Learning Developers, and we also got the best score in the NSS last year, but that's like, I always feel like Paul Weller when the Jam went to #1, we're going underground. You got to do it all again, so it's not really a brag. Your first thought is, oh my God, how do you sustain that? You don't really, probably, but we're going to give it a good go. So we're doing lots of interesting things, but we haven't taken our eye off our core business. As I say, we work in partnership. We're not a service, but we provide the best services within our university. And I hope that gives you an answer. What the hell the library's for. That's what the library's for. Thank you very much.